Hello and welcome to my channel, Main's Mind. I love books and I love art. So on this channel, I am going to review books and sometimes talk about art. Um, but I'm a busy person. I'm a mom, I'm a teacher. I'm going all the time. So I don't always have time to sit down and read. So sometimes I read books, sometimes I listen to audiobooks. Right now, currently, I am reading The Ultimate Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. And I am also listening to Dry by Neil Schusterman, which I already love it. I love Neil Schusterman's books. They're just amazing. So I will probably do a review over those later. Right now, I want to talk about Ready Player 2. This was such a good book. Spoiler alert though. So if you haven't read it yet, then I would probably pause now and go read it and then come back. um, but Ready Player 2 by Ernest Cline is a continuation to the Ready Player 1. The movie production is based on the book. Ready Player 1, it's very different than, well, not very, it's a little different than the book, the movie in the book. But for Ready Player 2, we don't have a movie on this one yet. I don't know if they are. I think I heard rumors that they are, but I'm not sure. Anyway, so Ready Player 2 continues Wade Watts' journey. This is after he has already taken control of the company, because he won the competition in the first book. And it's a fantastic book, but the beginning of the book starts off just a little slow, but it's kind of mimicking what is going on in his life. Because at this point, Wade Watts is broken. He has broken up with Samantha, and he's just kind of doing this monotonous routine, his everyday routine of him just kind of moving through the day until he can get back into the OniNet. For those of you who don't remember what the OniNet is, that is the Oasis neural interface. So at the end of the last book, he had taken over the competition. At the beginning of this book, they introduced the OniNet. So the OniNet is this device that connects to the brain, kind of, like reads the brain and creates an image of the person in the Oasis so that they can have a more authentic, more real, sensation experience. And so through this, they're able to experience what other people experience in real life. One of the most amazing things about this book is how close it is to things that could possibly happen in real life. Um, he talks about the earth going bad just from neglect alone. One of my most favorite quotes from this book is life is an extremely difficult, horribly unbalanced video game. When you're born, you're given a randomly generated character with a randomly determined name, race, face, and social class. Your body is your avatar, and you spawn in a random geographic location at a random moment in human history, surrounded by a random group of people, and you have to try to survive as long as you can. I mean, how true is that? Who actually gets to decide where you're born? Who actually gets to decide what you're going to look like and because I mean, if that was the case, we would all be beautiful and rich, but we're not. So you get what you, what you're born into. So I just love that quote and it's true, and throughout this book, we see a return of, their nemesis, Nolan Sorrento, but we're also introduced to, we're not introduced to him. We see him again, Anorak, sorry, Anorak. And Anorak in this version is an AI, artificial intelligence. He's an evil AI. So because he's an AI, that's artificial intelligence, he's developed his own consciousness and he kind of goes evil. And in this book, they point out that, humans are always constantly striving to create technology that kind of mimics us, but at the same time, we're scared of it. They say in the book, think of the Matrix, think of Terminator. Those are things that show that we're always working to improve our technology, but at the same time, we tend to regret it. And in this book, they regret it at first. They create Anorak, or Anorak becomes conscious. Even James Holiday was kind of worried about Anorak being conscious. He didn't trust him. So he like deleted a bunch of his memories so that he could, and he tried to delete him, but it didn't work. James Holiday created another competition. kind of, where they had to get the 7 shards to bring the siren back. Well, the siren is Lacosia or Kira, the great love of James Holiday and Ogden Morrow. One of the reasons Anorak trapped all of these people in the Oasis is because he wanted to be able to take control of Kira. You know, he wanted Kira's artificial intelligence avatar to come back. Um, and in doing so, he wanted to have time to try to convince her to love him. But in truth, Kira was never going to love him. She was in love with Ogden, and James Holiday really realized this at the end, towards the end of his life, that even when he brought her back, he realized what he did was wrong. He apologizes to his friend, but he also creates the option for him to get her back, to bring her back, and in a way that perhaps maybe Kira and Ogden could be together. But he realizes this, and so he creates this competition to bring her back later on, without realizing that his AI was going to come in and cause all this trouble. Eventually, they are able to get rid of Anorak, and boy, when they get rid of him, it is in this very big, fantastic show, because Ogden Morrow is on his deathbed. He is in the process of dying, and when he comes back as in the Oasis as Og. Mentally, physically, or physically, his body was dying. Um, he was already injured. He had already been shot. He was in the process of dying, but his mind was still strong. So he logs into the Owning It the one time and broadcasts it for everybody to see him go to battle with Anorak and do away with him. And it's just this huge um, scene in the book that's just like fantastic, mind blowing. You're like sitting on the edge of your seat into it. And then when he kills him, Ogden dies. And so you're thinking, oh my God, Ogden Morrow, he died. How awful. And Kira's, they bring Kira back, and you're like, for a moment, you're like, oh, how sad. She's back and she doesn't get to see her husband again. And then you realize you hooked into the Owning It that one time. That was enough. So they created a copy of him, and then that's when they send them off. And da, da, da. Overall, this book was a 5 out of 5. It was a 5 out of 5. I give it 5 stars. It was fantastic. I absolutely loved it. I recommend it for anybody. Well, if you like what I had to say, subscribe for more content as it comes available, and let me know if there's any other books I should read. What are your opinions on this book? I'd like to have a discussion with you all about it. Until next time.